The topic that we are going to discuss today is strategic performance management. Now remember, it is level 7, so students are required to do a lots and lots of research all by themselves and read the contents which have been provided to you. And I also expect that some of the reading links you have already seen and read those researches or articles which has been provided for reading, because this level is really talks about the knowledge and understanding and then developing the skills, and that is expected from everyone in the classroom. There are part of responsibilities on us, and definitely there is a part of responsibility on you. The topic, as I said, is about strategic performance management system in the organization. One thing which has been observed in the industry nowadays is the awareness of importance of human resource function as a whole. So small and medium organization, what they are doing nowadays is that even if they do not have a separate department for human resource function, they do have one or two people who are assigned the HR duties, and they have the knowledge and academic qualifications to manage that function in those small and medium organization. But when it comes to the large and very large organizations, most of them have a separate human resource department, because those functions can be technical, can be difficult to manage, and can be very hectic to manage in the large organizations. And one of those functions is performance management, or developing a system of performance management in the organization. So we will be looking at three main elements of performance appraisal. What is SPM, or strategic performance management? What are its strategic benefits, and how it is conducted, and what are the various methods that can be used, and why do organizations, or purpose of performance appraisal or strategic performance management. Before moving any further, we would like to have a look at the purpose of performance appraisal. What do you think is the purpose of performance management system? Do you think designing and implementing of performance management system, why do organizations do that? It's an important question to ask yourself. There are many different reasons. It could be employees development, which can lead to improving in employee retention or workforce retention. That is the outcome. It could be for the sake of rewards and remuneration management. It could be for promotion purposes. It could be due to the fact that organization is moving on more scientific basis and want to see who is who and what is their knowledge and skills and how do they perform in the organization, and based on that it is decided that who among our current workforce is worth keeping and who is not, who should be offered. Unfortunately, this is also a corporate decision to make a decision about who can stay and who should be leaving because of their lack of performance. Any contribution from the class? What do you think? Did it happen in your organization? You definitely have. Would you like to share with us?
In terms of performance appraisals?
Mm-hmm.
Where do I start?
It's a long story. Cut it short.
It's never ending.
Yeah.
It's a constant and never ending.
Yeah.
And in terms of skills audits
Yeah.
that we're doing, HR is now pushing everyone to do a skills audit and submit it on Workday.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is annoying.
It
It
is,
has to be done.
but it has to be done.
And at the same time, there's so many mistakes that are being made.
Hmm.
And I feel like our workforce planning that in general influences further performance management, the workforce planning has failed.
Hmm.
And then the performance as a subsequence, the performance management and performance appraisals have also failed, because then you look at and you evaluate skills that may not even be needed,
Hmm.
and it wasn't the person's fault.
True, very true. It happens, it happens.
And then
And
you
yeah,
fire and make people redundant, and then 6 months after you decide
you
let's bring them
realize
all
that,
back,
yes, yes,
because now it's even worse.
yeah, yeah.
So
And
yeah.
that's why the emphasis is on developing a strategic performance management system.
Mhm.
That's the key word over here.
Yeah, it's for succession planning as well.
Succession planning is very true. Anyone? What's the purpose of designing a strategic performance management system?
I mean, I think for us is to just view how we are doing as employees, like maybe what, especially in the HR side,
Yeah,
how we are helping
yeah,
employees that we work with, how we are kind of spending our money, because if we are spending on them,
yeah,
it's just to see if they are learning or if there's some sort of benefit out of
or
what
they are meeting the standards which
Yeah.
has been set by the
Yeah,
organization.
basically. So,
Mhm.
and whenever we do it, we get the same complaints as with them not understanding why
Yeah,
we are requesting for meetings or kind of feedbacks to be done over their, overall
yeah,
performance. It's like
yeah.
you don't understand the importance of it. But then, I guess the good thing about it is because you want to see if you're on track or not.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So,
mm.
I think it is important that obviously for you to know that you are doing it correctly, you need to know what you want to achieve out of it, and when setting the objectives as well, you need to see if it's actually achievable or you're just not even in line with the organization's values and beliefs.
Well, yes, 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 correct actually. Any opposing arguments? No? Good. Moving on to the next slide. As we said, we are focusing on those three important elements. Uh, we are also more interested to know how is it conducted and what are the various methods that can be used. Along with other two elements in number 1 and 2, which is what strategic performance management is and what are its strategic benefits to begin with. So we will look at the first thing, defining SPM. It's a CIPD description of SPM, which says that the attempt to maximize the value that employees create. It aims to maintain and improve employees' performance in line with the organizational objectives. Two things. Oops, what happened?
Hopefully what?
What will I do? Okay. So it is an attempt to maximize the value that employees create. It aims to maintain and improve employees' performance in line with the organizational objectives. Two elements, two important uh, words has been used over here. Two important terms has been used over here. What are those two terms? Can anyone identify?
Value.
Okay. Employees' performance and organization objectives. There has to be a parity between these two, isn't it?
Yeah.
as long as employees, as long as workforce help the organization to achieve its organizational goals. I remember in the last time you had learned something which was link between HR strategy and organization strategy. Remember? So if there is the link between organization strategy and HR strategy and they are aligned with each other, that's the time we will know that workforce is helping us to achieve the organizational goals. Does it make sense? What do you think? Okay. It is not a single activity, but rather a group of practices that should be approached holistically. So there could be many different stages and different types of systems which we develop for employees appraisal. One may have 3 stages, the other may have 13 stages. Who knows? It depends on the size, type, and number of employees. Size of the organization, type of the functions, and number of employees. An organization having 5,000 people, the whole process may take more than 3 months. Isn't it? So, there are, however, other definitions which include an approach to management which encompasses the HR strategies designed to improve organizational performance and measures the impact of these strategies on the organizational performance. How do you define? Leave it for 1 second over here. How do you define the recruitment? Recruitment is the process of, or employees, or HR or workforce procurement. Procurement is the process of recruitment, selection, placement, and induction of employees or of workforce, isn't it? And if you look at this particular definition, which is an approach to management which encompasses the HR strategies designed to improve organizational performance and measure the impact of those strategies on organizational performance, which means it starts right from the acquisition of human resources. So you need to have a strategic recruitment, isn't it? You need to have strategic placement.
That's what I'm fighting for so badly.
In the organization,
Yes.
you have to tell them. You have to tell them the.
I'm starting doing stuff by myself.
Mm-hmm.
This value in this.
Yeah.
I hope it's gonna,
But in practice, the employer will agree on something, especially in relation to HR, if you prove them the value of the activity in terms of money.
Yes, and that's exactly why I'm in the company. Basically, I'll build them back probably.
You have to drag them from the prehistoric era
It was all RPO.
to the current one.
So imagine, it was all RPO. We never had internal TA.
No? I
We
can
had
imagine
40
then.
40 RPO officers in terms of headhunters, recruiters.
Then I can imagine the problem you are
And there's
facing.
5 of us now in the TA. So naturally, when you have RPO, your recruitment was
Yeah.
never strategic in the first place. It
No.
was firefighting all the time.
And that's the bad thing about any function.
Yes, 5 of us now. And I'm the headhunter with the team. The others
Hmm.
are like more operations. I'm the sourcer, headhunter,
Yeah.
strategies and stuff. And when I say I'm gonna start doing by myself and show the value, I just decided yesterday I'm gonna start doing strategic pipelining because this is not going anywhere basically. I'm
True,
not gonna firefight
true.
anymore.
I mean, that's also one thing. Uh, they are not afraid of anything. They are afraid of the change management.
I want to push back on the team as well for them to push back
Hmm.
on
It's difficult
HR.
to make the management agree on change.
TA doesn't have a seat at the table, and that's a problem.
Hmm. Or probably they never had it.
Never had it, but and since we are now here, HR doesn't see the value, and once
Yeah.
we're involved and cannot let go of the process.
Okay. It's a long discussion
I'm
anyway,
sorry,
so
yes.
no.
I just need
I
to
mean,
understand.
other students are actually being benefited from this kind of argument. This is the kind of arguments you have to put in your assignments. You have to put in your presentations. You know, that's the one which help to achieve high marks. All those activities affecting the behavior of individuals in their efforts to formulate and implement the strategic needs of business. And I mean, both of these are coming from a very well known authors, but end of the day, a very simplistic definition is to design a system of assessing workforce performance in line with the set standards. And that is the simplistic definition we can understand. Okay? Or in a nutshell, performance management is an umbrella term that covers the strategic and management practices which help your employees, which help your workforce succeed in their role and beyond through a combination of directions, feedback, and development.
Disagree. This is definition of coaching, not performance management.
Coaching is part of that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even you have to teach your employees, your workforce, that why we are doing the performance management. You have to make them agree. If employee does not agree on a certain process, you can't implement it, because otherwise they will not be participating in the process with the full interest. And if that happens, you're not going anywhere, to be honest. You are not. Okay. Any question? So, effective performance management system. Let's have a look at the component. This website which I have provided you over here will help you to even learn additional knowledge about effective PMS. According to ACAS, there are 4 fundamental components of effective performance management, which are: number 1, employees being set standards, goals against which their performance will be measured. This has to start from a year before it starts, or at least you have to provide a complete framework to the member of workforce, that these are the standard benchmark. In other words, you have to set the performance benchmark for everyone. It is easy to set the benchmark for Salesforce, isn't it? It is easy to set the benchmark for marketing force. It is easy to set the benchmark for production team. But how you are going to set the benchmark for human
R&D.
resource, huh?
HR,
HR,
R&D.
or admin, or front desk employees? Are you going to tell that, okay, your performance will be considered excellent if you attend 15 people in a day and 35 phone calls? Can it be done? Is this the standard we are looking for? No, obviously not. So we are basically looking for, in admin team especially, we are looking for the performance like something that: how many complaints did we receive in a day, and how those complaints were sorted out. Does it make sense? How did you deal with a difficult customer? Customer satisfaction. Very good. Nowadays, when you are going to those big retailers of different types, you will always find something that you will receive on your phone, a text message, you have called us today based on the performance of our customer service executive, how likely you are referring our services or referring our phone company to your friends and family. Are you getting those messages, don't you?
Yeah, even from Argos, I bought something months ago. They keep sending me emails.
That's right. So that is a consumer satisfaction survey basically. The second one is managers and individuals meet to discuss their performance. So what we are likely, what we are supposed to do and how we are going to do it. And then employees are assessed against their performance standards and goals. But there are future development also which are included. That what do you see in the next year your goals are? When a such question is asked to you when your assessment is being judged or assessed, judged is not the right word, is assessed. Don't make big claims. I will do this and I will do that and I'm ready to do this and I'm ready to do that. Make sure you set the targets which are smart. Smart targets, okay? What are smart targets? Specific, measurable, realistic, attainable, and time bounded. You see, this smart thing is not, you are not going to get rid of this smart thing for the rest of your life. You studied it in your A levels, isn't it? You will make use of these everywhere. Didn't you?
In my A levels.
Yeah. This is part of the high school.
No, I didn't go to high school.
Did you study management in high school? I mean, in the college.
No, I did physics.
Oh, so you are a science person.
Yeah, I did business. Yeah, all of that.
Science person wouldn't know that. Probably you came across with this one in the university.
No, I did maths at uni.
Oh gosh. What are you doing here? Huh?
That's an interesting.
Why you are not teaching maths in the university?
Because my maths teachers at university hated teaching maths,
Oh, okay.
and so therefore they put me off the whole thing. Yeah.
You know, the person who taught the research methods to us in the university, he was a mathematics genius and he was hardly 28, 29 and he is a professor. He is a professor at the age of 27.
It's possible, yeah. It's very possible.
All right. And the last fourth one is employees' performance is recorded. It becomes a reference point that what was the person's performance last year and how much improvement has been achieved this year. And then there is also one more purpose of a good PMS, and that is managing rewards and bonuses. People who perform high, they get the rewards. Any questions? Anything anyone would like to share? Who among you are working? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Have you been ever assessed? Your performance has been assessed.
Yeah.
You. Share with us what was your experience.
I'm supposed to. I'm eating a chocolate bar. I think for me personally, the experience I get, it's different from my colleagues just because I'm HR. So even like when we set deadlines, I expect these appraisals to be done and all that. Like HR always does their own way after the deadline.
Yeah.
And even when it comes to the discussing it, it doesn't feel like the same way the meetings are done with other colleagues.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me personally, I think my experience is different from the others in the sense that as I'm working, I know that I'm meeting my targets, and to the point where I know I'm even doing what was not written or
Yeah.
what I was not meant to be working on.
Yeah.
So and it kind of feels like we make excuses around in the sense that if we don't meet our targets, so I'm talking for like HR side, it's like, oh yeah, because you ended up doing recruitment and that took your time from achieving this.
Yeah.
Or maybe you were not able to meet your deadline because you had to work on this. So in a way, it's like we follow it, but personally I feel like we end up making kind of excuses have reasons as to why we do not meet it, and then we just push it for the following year because that's just what's happened to me. But then if it was to be someone else, we might not really accept those excuses and maybe they have something else to work on. It would
Okay.
be more of like, why were you not able to achieve what you and your manager had planned, what came in between that, and if we might feel like it was just because you did not give enough time or maybe you did not schedule things properly, then it's like something that needs to be looked at again. But yeah, HR side is really
If I ask you to tell us 3 critical areas which you consider are important but had not been followed
right.
correctly.
So I mean, one of my performance or something that was meant to work on or just improving was when it comes to auditing.
Yeah.
So as the department ensuring that we do the audits, we have all the information of stuff, and that's something that this year I don't think it's gone the way it should have gone. If anything, it probably went worse because our time ended up being spent on other things. So all we said was, oh, you did not achieve the 100% of auditing or making sure you have maybe all the correct information. So what you need to do is just set maybe more time for it next
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So that's like a major thing, but that's something that you can't really make excuses around because we need to, like at the moment we are doing audits, so we are being asked so many documents, and thank God we had everything that they asked us for. But here's the case where what if we did not have it, then it goes back to the fact that we did not meet the objectives because I did not do maybe audits,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it could have resulted on us failing the auditing and all that. So
I actually agree with you. May not be fully agree, but I do agree with you on the essence of what you have told us. But at the same time, the first problem occurs when workforce is not explained that this is your benchmark, these are the standard performances which you have to achieve, this is personal development which we expect you to achieve, okay, because ambiguity is left in that benchmarking, so the process will never go successful.
yeah, I agree because all we get is why are we doing this? What is the reason for us doing it? But if there was more of an understanding, this is your personal development. As you
Yes.
are developing, learning, you yourself you know that you've met it.
Yeah.
But when it's written as for by the end of the year you must, I don't know, completed this document or done this, done that. Not only they don't have an interest in it because they feel like you're telling me what I need to achieve.
Yeah.
And if I don't achieve it, then I've kind of failed. But there isn't that understanding of why I guess it's being done.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, next step,
True, true.
understanding.
Is correct actually. Anyone else? Have you had that experience?
Yeah, but
How was it? Is it normal part of your everyday job, or is it challenging, or you were satisfied with the process or not satisfied? What's your
I think
opinion?
in terms of the actual formal process, not
Yeah.
being satisfied with that, I feel like my one-to-ones are much more meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of the annual appraisals where obviously there is a wide benchmark benchmark.
Yeah.
Obviously, all your goals need to be aligned with the organisation strategy.
Yeah.
And you build into that. But I feel that because there's so much, there's a lot of focus on day-to-day operations. So I feel like my one-to-ones are much more
Fruitful, you can say.
yeah, like meaningful.
Meaningful, yeah.
Whereas the
General
training
process,
that I have is
yeah.
really just a reflection of everything that I've done. And just because there's so much to do day to day, it just
You feel that in one-to-one you have the more opportunity to explain what you have done and what you have achieved instead of filling the forms and telling maybe something that you would like to answer on a form. The option is not even there. You know what I mean?
yeah, I guess so, yeah. I think it needs to be more
And that's where something which we say that the system should meet the requirements of the employees, requirements of the workforce. So it is sometime HR experts and HR practitioners, they are not really deviating from the standard type of assessment system, but they should, because in your case, as you are saying, that you are more comfortable one-to-one interaction rather than filling up so many forms and trying to explain yourself, which makes sense. And that's why the organization have to design a system which meets the requirement of the workforce. Isn't it? That make a lot of sense. Anyone else? No? You have your own business, that's why. I
My
know
partner
that.
is in my
So are you doing
No.
appraisal of your workforce? No? That's not a good thing.
It's just an employee, so
It doesn't matter. Even one employee. And you are going through a difficult time, I know.
Not, I mean, personally, in my current role,
Mm.
since I started not too long ago, I haven't had appraisal yet, those, like one-to-one.
Mm.
But in my previous company, and I'm thinking the best actual experience I had in terms of performance appraisals, and that's, I'm really thankful to my general manager for that. I think she did an amazing job in leading those one-to-one that were done every half a year formally. There was a form to fill before.
Okay.
When she was advocating every time and coaching you, setting up your goals,
Hmm.
and it was very realistic, achievable definitely, and the way she conducted it never felt too intimidating or too formal. Like you actually have a conversation with a person that genuinely wants you to succeed, get better,
Yeah.
will facilitate it, go do everything that's in her hands to do
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and then whatever goes well or not well until, until the next appraisal, she's not gonna, judge you or do it. She's just gonna help
Yeah,
you
yeah,
set you on
yeah,
track
yeah.
again.
Even sometime also it happens that the assessors many times deviate from
Mhm.
the standards which had been or the benchmark which were given to the workforce. They deviate from those benchmarks and start exploring other stuff which is non-relevant, and that's where the problem arises. Anyway, obstacles. Capelli identifies 5 key challenges that HR professionals will have to navigate in implementing and maintaining the effectiveness of a performance management program. This might help you. Number 1, how to align organization wide and individual goals. You see, organization, if you start from the very top, you have board of directors, yeah? Above board of directors is CEO, board of directors, then head of departments, okay? Different departments. Then each department is split into further sections, then head of manager of each section, and each manager have certain number of subordinates working under them. A simplistic structure which I have told you know. And when that individual in that section is able to do the job which is given to them, which means the whole section have done the job which was assigned to the section. And when different sections in one department do their job, which means the whole department has done the job. So it starts from the bottom basically. And to understand this whole thing, when we say, so how their goals are designed, how their objectives are designed for each individual, those complement the objective of the section. Section objectives are aligned with the department objectives, and department objectives are aligned with organization or business objectives. If you understand that philosophy, the same thing happens in human resource. Second, how to reward good performance. I know what is the answer or what is the likely answer, but have you ever been rewarded for a good performance?
No, I'm not.
No? Not in your knowledge.
I mean, apart from them saying it, but that's not the
How about you?
Yeah, I guess in previous roles, not my current one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was given a
Financial or non-financial?
salary, financial.
Financial. Anyone else? Do you reward your employees?
Yeah.
You do?
We give them a pay increase.
Pay increase, which match the inflation.
That's not. That's not the one. That's not performance.
But we have pay increase like every year, so
Yeah, but
That's a
not
good thing.
inflation.
That's a
Yeah.
good thing,
It's
yeah.
not the, yeah.
How about you? Verbal praise. Are you happy with the verbal praise?
no.
I'm always happy with verbal praise. I'm always happy with it.
Oh gosh. Well,
Yeah,
yes,
I
please.
had like a little gift, like I came in and they had a little gift set on the table, but that's it.
Okay. I'm giving you something to discuss among yourselves. Do you think that employee of the week or employee of the month is really a reward?
To some people, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see the raise your hands, those who think it is really a reward.
I mean, I'm leading that, so I cannot say it's not.
Okay.
But that's for students, so it's not for like us, the employees, but students.
All right. So I have one vote in the favor. Anyone else?
I mean, we give
Two
them
votes in the
money.
favor.
We give them money, so.
3 votes in the favor.
I mean, it's not rewarded for a month until it is.
No? You do?
For a month it is.
Okay.
So technically.
Fine. So it does have a meaning for you, isn't it?
It depends though. I think it's if it's done well, because you have to think about it in one of the things that I always find is that you'll have, especially if you have a business that is earning money or they're working on projects, which I do, a lot of people that work on the projects get nominated, and it's the same people that will nominate them every month.
Every month,
But
yeah.
the support businesses don't get any reward. So it's more of, so the monthly ones, I don't think that's, what we do is a yearly staff awards ceremony, which is more beneficial because people are nominated across the business in different sections. And so that is more rewarding for the employees than I find than the monthly one.
Okay.
Because there is more opportunity to actually appreciate different people from the business and the work that they've done. But the monthly ones, I find it can be quite biased in selection. because
It
it's
could
the same
be.
people
It
that are
could be.
nominated.
Oh yeah. Well, I do agree with that. It could be biased, yes. No doubt about it.
But since the question was it a reward, so reward
Well, in that case, I would rather refer you back to the
It's not
Maslow's
over
hierarchy. No, not you. I mean, the whole
Not
class.
for me.
I would like to refer you back to the Maslow's
Yeah.
hierarchy of need, isn't it? Because obviously, human being, a time comes when the money does not have any importance to the people. To some people, reserving a parking space can be a reward, which is a non-financial.
Of course.
Or giving them a separate office and a separate assistant, is also a reward. It's non-financial.
It's just, if it's a reward, yes. Me personally, I don't care. I would like to take money and that's it. Other than that, I
Well,
want knowledge.
well,
That's
I do
some
agree with
people-
you. I do agree with you. Okay, how to identify the poor performers, and that is something where the personal bias is used. Personal bias from assessor. Would you agree with me? Isn't it?
It's a lack of self-awareness.
Oh God!
Sometimes as well.
Don't take me to the philosophical explanation, okay? No more philosophy. I know where you are dragging me, okay? How to mitigate the risk of discrimination and bias. If my line manager is assessing my performance, if my manager likes me, he will use the positive bias. If my manager doesn't like me, then they will use a negative bias. Or sometimes there is a bias which is unintentional. They don't know that they are being biased, but actually there is a bias. And fifth, how to manage the volume of feedback being given and received, which might be overwhelming for some staff and insufficient for others. So in your case, when you have the one-to-one meetings with your assessor, the amount of data which is gathered from you is enormous, isn't it? So if there are more members of workforce like you who would prefer one-to-one interaction, the data which is collected from all those, how we are going to manage that data as an HR? That's a big question, isn't it? And that's an obstacle. That's the reason most of the time we use the forms, those forms particularly, which have close-end questions with possible answers. Some questions are split into 5 options, and analyzing them is a big job. Some have 3 options. That also need a lot of statistical knowledge to analyze, which unfortunately not many HR leaders, practitioners are very good in statistical analysis. So the process should be simplistic, easy to follow, and agreeable by the most of the workforce. It's virtually impossible to get everybody to agree on one thing. Even if there are 2 people and I ask them, I'm holding an extra class tomorrow, can both of you come? One will say yes, other will say no. Okay, so when should I do? Can we do it day after tomorrow? Again, the one who agreed on the next day will disagree, and the one who disagree will agree. So it's not possible to make everybody happy. That's why I'm saying where most realistic terms, most of them should be agreed. Factors affecting individual performance. Have a look at these 3. Do they make sense? First question which I will ask you after going through these three. The individual who need the right level of knowledge and skills, motivation and engagement to perform effectively. Number two, the individual's job, which has to be designed to provide opportunity to use and develop skills and give an appropriate degree of autonomy in carrying out the work. Underline this term, giving the degree of autonomy, underline this one. And then third one, the individual's manager, who has to provide leadership and support and act as coach and mentor required. Three factors which affect. What's your opinion on this?
I would add
Yes, go on.
that business should also, the processes and let's say the processes and the support mechanisms inside the business should also support the employee. I can give an example.
So number 4, you are saying that number 4 should be the support mechanism.
It's structural and also not how do you call it, like processes?
It may be a difficult could be a difficult job to develop a structural support system.
I can give an example.
Yeah.
If I am being assessed as a recruiter for
Mhm.
my time to hire in dates,
Yeah.
I can deliver person to the hiring manager, and then employment agreement, that the contract that needs to be prepared as well as an offer
Mhm.
is being stuck in the process of compensation and benefits team benchmarking it, then the offer going to HR to approve it,
Mhm.
someone's on holiday, no communication, the whole thing somewhere gets stuck,
Mhm.
and you have to chase and you don't know, and then that time to hire drags on, but
Mhm.
it's not your fault.
Okay. Let's give other a chance to speak about it.
And that's why I'm saying that structural
Yeah, no,
mechanisms,
I know what
processes.
you mean. But then let's have some other opinions on it. Anyone? Come on, speak. Have you which one of these factors have you experienced at your workplace? Which one of these has affected your performance on the workplace? Is it your manager?
The manager, yeah.
Isn't it?
For mine, yeah, in my previous job, it was
But-
the manager. If you don't have like good relationship.
But then there is a problem over here. We call it Dunning-Kruger curve. Anyone familiar with it? You have computer open in front of you. Find out what is Dunning-Kruger effect or Dunning-Kruger curve. Dunning-Kruger, Dunning-Kruger curve. Those who think that their manager doesn't know anything,
Who they think their manager doesn't know anything or their manager doesn't know.
do you understand what it means? Isn't it? How many times it happened to you? Your subordinates came to you and told you this. Tell me if anyone in this class, including myself, have not felt at a certain point of time the same exact feeling. There is a reading for you, okay?
I think it's quite the opposite, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because Dunning-Kruger effect, and the opposite of that would be the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
They know that you
Because yeah, I do think that I have seen And
Mm.
so therefore, the argument of yes, it is simple, and you should be able to do it, and they go, well, it's not that simple. There's two sides to the coin. It's looking at everything on a
Hmm.
case by case basis. Yes, I do think that sometimes people do can overestimate things,
Yeah.
but it is looking at things on a factual basis and breaking everything down.
Yeah.
I do get a
But
lot of conversation.
imposter syndrome is something different than this one.
So it's the opposite one when you
Um,
underestimate what can be more.
That's more.
That
like
is
a
more
self-esteem.
like a constructive thought. What do you think?
I think it's more to do with low self-esteem, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that is something that there are people that have that where they don't believe that they've done well, and but they are actually achieving, but they constantly feel like they are underachieving.
They think they are underachieving,
However,
but they are doing quite well.
Yeah. But there's a lot of people that have that.
And that's where the manager's contribution comes in. It's manager who will make the person feel that, or mentor the person that, look, you are doing well, I'm happy with your performance, and if you carry on doing this, I'm sure that there could be better set of skills you will be achieving, isn't it? And you can progress while working in the same.
Or it won't say anything. Then it will
That's the problem.
That's the problem. That's exactly what we are talking about. And that's the one which is affecting the performance. Lack of what?
Mentorship.
Yeah, and coaching.
Lack of recognition will always put the person down. Have you ever felt in any of your job that you have not been appreciated enough and because of that you quit?
Yeah.
Yes.
See how natural human resource study is. What do you think? Okay. Factors affecting. Two more. Individuals' work groups whose members will exercise a strong positive or negative influence on the attitude, behavior, and performance of individual. In this at this point, something called snobbish behavior in a layman language,
In layman's terms.
in layman terms. Snobbish, somebody who wants to show some performance in a group or a team, is made shut up because others are thinking that person is not really skilled enough to comment on something. So you snub person. That snobbish attitude can lead to the destruction of skills and personality of that person. Especially if it happens in the schools. You are very quiet. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about it?
About
Being snobbish.
that, it's not a good thing.
I know it's not a good thing. But think about how it can destroy the personality of individuals, isn't it? And fifth, the organization, which has to provide a powerful, coherent vision and operate a work system that facilitate high performance. Yes,
What I have in mind.
this is what you have in the mind. Does it make sense now? A lot, isn't it? That's what we call learning organization. Principles of performance management. There are few, but there could be a long list of principles that can be developed. However, some of the important ones are as follows: well-defined, transparent, and honest process. We all agree on that, isn't it? Second, open and two-way communication, and that's the problem. Most of the time, there's a lack of communication between assessor and assessee, between the performance assessor and performance assessee. Three, communicating the objectives, method, and process. I'm sure anyone who in this class has been assessed, these prerequisites, all of them hadn't been completed, including why this assessment is being done, what method will be used, and how it will proceed. Have you been told this before the process?
Before what's that for?
Before the start of the performance appraisal?
Yeah, I know.
All three of them?
All of them, yeah, I'm always because being in HR, I always know.
In a specific way or just in general way? Okay, we will be doing next week our performance assessment.
Not really like that. I kind of know about it maybe a couple of weeks, and I'm usually the one that's pushing for it because I'm like.
So you are the one who's perpetrator, you know?
Yeah, I kind of like knowing what having my appraisals because I like to know how well I'm doing and what things I need to improve on. So as soon as I know the deadline's coming, I usually chase my line manager as to when we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I've never really had issues in that area.
True.
I'm the one that is.
Which leads us to the next one: honesty and free of personal bias or unconscious bias also. We also call it unconscious bias. Communicating the outcomes. You have to tell the subordinates as a manager what was the outcome of the appraisal, why something was negative marked, why something was positive marked. Complete feedback should be given. Identifying the, I wouldn't say mistakes, don't use the word mistakes. It's my personal opinion. Subjectively speaking, don't say that, oh, your mistakes are these. No.
Areas you need to improve.
Yes. So you are, in other words, shooting with the sweet bullet. Isn't it? Somebody's singing, huh?
Sorry, it was me.
You like singing, don't you? And then suggesting any corrective actions and setting up the objectives for next appraisal. Do we understand all the 6 principles? Easy to understand, isn't it? The cycle, how it runs. We start from planning, monitoring, reviewing, and rewarding. In your case, in your organization, all these 4 steps are followed, or is there any step which is missing? I know which you mean.
The previous organization, the fourth,
Was absent.
just what is the meaning? Why are you assessing my
Exactly,
performance? Just don't make
exactly.
any sense.
Because if this is not there, then the whole process becomes worthless, isn't it?
The planning in my organization at the moment is a bit rubbish. They're trying to sort it out at the moment.
But then you, as a practitioner, has to develop that, isn't it?
Well, I'm not the senior person. I've already raised my concerns about it.
Have you raised the in how? I mean, how did you raise your
I
concerns
spoke
about?
to my line manager about the fact that
Okay.
so the way that they've been doing the appraisals is that they're done every 6 months.
Yeah.
But it wasn't starting from the top, it was starting from the bottom, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense,
Yeah.
because how are junior staff supposed to know what their objectives are if the line manager doesn't know what their objectives are? It needs to be done
Makes
down,
sense.
it needs to cascade down.
Makes
So I
sense.
fed that back, and then the other problem is that nobody knows what the actual business objective is, like the main business objective. So if no one knows what the main business objective is, or the company goals, how can anybody else know what they're aligning themselves to? So I've already raised my concerns about it.
Yeah.
They have changed the process, however, they still haven't mentioned what the main business goals are yet. So we've just got a new HR director that started
Yeah.
last week. So hopefully he'll come in.
At the same time, there are some organizations which overemphasize on few things. For example, you have to provide them your personal or PDP, personal development plan. Why do you ask people to develop personal development? Just because it is written in the books, that's why you are asking them? Subjectively speaking, if somebody is ready to prepare a PDP in real sense, not just filling up the boxes in a form, then talk about that. Not necessarily just filling up the form. Ask the person, what do you want to do? Instead of asking him, give me your PDP.
That's how we do it. And at times it feels like they think we are forcing them
Exactly.
to have the PDP, and it's like it's optional. If we are here to provide you with training, if you need to, so that's what we are doing. And one thing I've realized with, I don't know, HR policies of what we decide to do with the staff members is they don't understand that the procedure, and also it helps us to know where to improve and what where not to improve. And they don't understand that. So
Yeah.
I think this week or last week, we had a training. I think it was like a desk awareness training, and we were saying how they liked it and they preferred that training compared to the other trainings that they've done because they didn't see how it's useful. And I was like, there are things that you might not see the need of it, but it needs to be done.
Yeah.
It's a process, and my thing is, if we don't do them, they are the same ones that later will probably come back and be like, oh, we didn't do this, or we didn't do an appraisal. How do I know I'm meeting my goals? You know, they'll still come back and kind of complain about something that we are not doing.
Yeah.
So it's like it just needs to be done.
Yeah, I think the main issue with that is that sometimes we as HR people, because we know that it needs to be done, we forget to explain what the purpose is
Yeah, we
to
rush
our
it.
staff.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I've tried to do in my current place of work, is that I've tried to get them to understand that we're here to answer any questions, and I try and explain what the purpose is. I always think of it as, like we've spoken about in terms of the, what was it, the Dunning-Kruger thing. You kind of have to explain it to the dimmest person in the room. I kind of see it as you should be, so explain it like they don't understand anything.
Yeah.
And then
it's easier to, because at times you even assume that managers understand the emails that you're sending or even the communications you have with them, but you realize that
they don't.
staff members are confused just because they go to their managers, the managers are even more confused, so then everyone's just not helping out.
Well, that's the point where the problems start, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's one of the things that I've started to realize is that there are a lot of managers that have been managers for years, but they still don't know how to manage. And I've realized that this year, because there's one manager I was supporting with a meeting, and he literally just fumbled through the whole meeting. He spoke about points before the meeting, and he just didn't say anything. You know, when
Well,
you're
basically,
Yeah.
when it comes to the manager should have the leader's capabilities, isn't
I
it?
think that's where it's lacking. It's lacking a lot in today's society. There are people that have the academics, but then they don't see the importance of line managing. I've noticed that so much, and it's like they go, oh well, why doesn't the business do X, Y, and Z? I'm like, but you're the representation of the business. You're the person. They really don't.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've had lots of conversations over the last
True,
few months.
very true. All right. Methods now, the last part of our lesson today, methods of performance appraisal. Let's go straight to the first one. methods include MBO, management by objectives, where the manager and subordinates sit together, determine the key objectives to be achieved, and objectives are then communicated clearly. Periodic discussions between manager and subordinate takes place, and goals are adjusted, ideally used in measuring the quantitative and qualitative output of senior management. So this method basically is meant for senior managers and directors and executives, and method may not work successfully if inadequate corporate objectives are set and lack of top management involvement. All these points are self-explanatory basically. So, but one thing which is important to understand about this method, it is not for the general workforce. It is more about middle and top management. Okay? 360 feedback method. This has been accepted by majority of the organizations, but at the same time, this method have more critics than any other method. What is this about? It attempts to get feedback from various sources. Method tends to eliminate bias in performance review and give the person realistic individual competencies. This is conducted in 5 stages, including self-appraisal, manager review, peer review, subordinate, and client or customer. If a teacher is strict in their principles, how do you rate them? Realistic answer.
Just because they're strict doesn't mean they're not effective. So you have to be objective.
Many times they bring their performance down
Brings the morale down.
just because that person is strict.
What is the evidence that it eliminates bias? Because self-appraisal is bias.
Very good question. It's a very good question, and we all agree. A few minutes ago, we were talking about using the personal bias or unconscious bias.
Even self-appraisal is biased. You can't
It is.
overestimate, you can underestimate.
That's why this is a process which has been used across the border, but it has more critics than any other method.
If at least one part of, where the
But then,
feedback
hold
collected
on,
from-
give me 1 second. At the same time, the sources of information is different. So if one source is using bias, the other source may give the realistic picture. And then you compare.
With how you can compare, but the fact that you're comparing biased with unbiased source doesn't give you realistic answer anyway.
But
So-
it's your
Because the
it's your
data source-
subjective opinion, yes.
But the data source, it seems in academia when you're doing critical thinking and you're, looking at sources that you're taking information from, once are biased and you're saying do not use them.
Mm.
Because these haven't been peer reviewed, these aren't objective, they may be subjective. the
Especially
authors-
when it comes to peer review, if somebody's your friend,
So
you
saying-
will always have a positive attitude towards that
and
person.
it's not acceptable to take, from sources that are, for example, have a lot of subjective opinions
Yeah.
where the author. So I see the same principles in terms of the process of thought can be applied to 360.
Yeah.
If at least it takes one source to be biased, how can
It will
360
poison everything else.
Exactly.
So I will get back to my sentence, my statement. It has been used across the board, but it has faced more criticism than any other method. And unfortunately, some of the organization, and sadly, many of those are recruitment agencies, the big one, specialist recruitment agencies. They are using this method. Still, they are using this method. It's strange. They are actually doing an HR function, but they don't realize that this method does not work. So, promotes engagement, yes. Self-development, maybe. Improves individual awareness, maybe. And how they perform, okay. Now, I'm mentioning it to you because this is the part of the curriculum. But it is not essential that I will agree with it. You know what I mean?
And it's widely used.
It is widely used.
Yeah.
And this method may fail if reviewers reflect leniency in reviews or cultural differences or competitiveness and misguided feedback. And I know certain parts of the world where cultural biases are used. You also know that. It's not only me who knows it. You also know that. Assessment centers. This could be an effective method if it is used correctly. Have a look at A. Enable employees to get a clear picture of how others observe them and impact it has on their performance. What happens if I ask you to write an essay on something and then I walk over to you and watch you writing that essay?
Why would you do that?
That's the question here.
Yeah.
Why?
It's going to impact how you write the essay.
Yeah.
You might, some people might
Same.
not care, some people might get nervous and then,
Some
make
people-
mistakes.
Now,
Yeah.
change it in the other way. What do you think others see you as what?
Intimidating.
Sometime in a workplace, people have this misunderstanding that some of their colleagues don't like them or like them. Could be anything. But that's why it says it enables employees to get a clear picture of how others observe them. And then during the assessment, employees are asked to take part in a social simulation exercises like in basket exercise or informal discussion or fact-finding exercises or decision-making or problem-solving or role play and other exercises that ensure success in a role. And then the main advantage of this one is that it will not only assess the existing performance of an individual, but also predict future job performance. Especially these exercises help understand the capabilities. It's more like understanding and assessing the capabilities and skills of an individual instead of looking at their past performance. Again, subjectively speaking, I have seen this in a very few places to be exercised. And then the major drawback of this approach is that it is time and cost intensive process that is difficult to manage. And it is time consuming. Behaviorally anchored rating, we call it BARS. Have a look at this. Consists of both quantitative and qualitative assessment. Compares employees' performance with specific behavioral examples that are anchored to numerical rating. For example, what do you think your subordinates help you in, or do you help, or your subordinate or your colleague help you in this? strongly agree, no opinion, disagree, strongly disagree. You see, this kind of weightage, So it's a numerical or statistical method of assessment. The questionnaire which is given to the people contains what you call 5 scale or 3 scale, Likert 5 scale or Likert 3 scale. You should be familiar with that, isn't it? Advantages: clear standard, improved feedback, accurate performance analysis, and consistent evaluation. And disadvantages: high chance of subjectivity in evaluation, are hard to make compensation and promotion decisions. Others are mentioned here. Have a look at them. If you have any questions, you can ask me next week. And that ends our today's lesson. Some of the references are provided in the last slide, so you can have a look at that. Any questions?